What is going on, guys? My name is Bob, and if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you're considering moving across the country, or you're going to be forced to move across the country, kind of like I was. My girlfriend ended up getting a great opportunity for a new job here in San Diego. So I moved all the way from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, all the way across the country here to San Diego. And since moving, I've had many people reach out and ask me, how much was it? Like, what am I looking at, to move across the country and all of that. And, before I moved, I did a ton of research, and basically I'm making this video to help you guys out. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the costs associated with moving across the country, how I moved across the country, and some tips and tricks and all of that. Now, I will go ahead and have the timestamps like right here. So if you want to skip around, between like gas and how much it was to rent the truck and all of that, you can skip to those time codes. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, before we go ahead and get into costs and everything like that, let's go over the different ways to really move across the country. Now, everybody I talked to on Reddit and forums, all they said was sell all your stuff, get in your car, and drive west. And I was kind of considering that, but I had bought some things recently, like I bought a new TV and I had bought a very expensive mattress, and I didn't like the idea of just losing money on those purchases. Also, with my work with Think Computers, I have a bunch of PC hardware here that I really can't sell and then rebuy, as companies send it to me for free. So it just didn't make sense. So that was off the table. Next is the more traditional option, which I think a lot of people go for, is basically just hiring movers, hiring people to come in, load up their truck, and they'll drive the truck across the country for you and unload everything. And I looked into that, and the options there, I think the lowest quote that I got was $9,500. I think the highest quote was close to $30,000. And while I did consider it, as it is kind of like the easiest route to go, one, prices were kind of high, for what I really wanted to spend. Two is that with some of my stuff, I really don't trust movers. You hear horror stories. I was researching a lot of these companies that I was getting quotes from, and on every one, there was just a bad experience that kind of made me just really not feel comfortable with trusting those people with all of my belongings. So that was kind of off the table. The third option is a pod or a container company. And basically what they do is they come and they drop off, a pod or a container. You load it up and you tell them where you want it to go, and they'll drive it across the country for you. One of my good friends, she recently did this in a big move, and she said good things about it. This is what I really was gonna do. Before the last option kind of came into play, this was the whole idea that I was going for. I got quotes. I think the lowest quote that I got was, I think, $2,800. And I think the highest quote I got was, I think, close to $9,000. So obviously a lot cheaper than going with a traditional moving company. And this is what I was gonna do. And then entered my good friend Adam, who you saw in the moving video. He just decided, we were out having drinks one night, and he suggested, why don't we get a moving truck and I'll help you move, and it'll be kind of like this little adventure. And that's kind of what I ended up doing. So that is what I did. We rented a moving truck, and he drove the truck. I drove my car across the country. I got a couch. I don't know if you guys saw my last video where I gave you guys kind of like an overview of my new place. I had no furniture. I finally got a couch. It's here. So I'm decided to do the next part of this video sitting on my couch. So for the rental truck, there are a couple companies that you can choose from. The big three are Budget, Penske, and U-Haul. I believe that both Budget and Penske are the only two that offer unlimited miles. So it's something that if you are renting a truck, you want to make sure that you have unlimited miles, because you don't want to get charged per mile on a cross-country trip. That will be insane price. So it's between Penske and Budget. I decided to go with Budget because they were the cheaper option. I researched both companies, and I saw that there were horror stories on both sides and all of that. So I decided to go with budget. I went with the 16-foot truck that, gave me more than enough room than what I needed. The total cost for everything through budget was, let's see here, where is it? It was $2,373.81. Now with budget, I got the full coverage. So they offer coverage. Some people don't get it at all, but I decided to get the full coverage, which included roadside assistance. If anything happened to the truck, if we totaled the truck, if somebody hit us, it was full coverage. And being that it was such a long trip, I just decided to get the extra coverage. I think that added on like another $300 to $500, but even though we didn't use it, I just felt that it was worth it because I didn't want to be liable for anything that happened to the truck, and you know how crazy that can get. And I didn't want to have to deal with it. And again, it did give us roadside assistance in case anything did happen to the truck. So the next thing, of course, is fueling up that budget truck. So the cost of fuel for the truck was $885.16. And then I drove my car. So again, Adam drove the budget truck. I drove my car. My car's a 2019 Honda Civic. Driving that across the country cost $157.70. I really don't have any tips and tricks for saving money on gas. Basically, the more you go west, the more expensive gas gets. So definitely keep that in mind. Obviously, driving across the country, you have to stay somewhere. So this next part is for hotels and lodging. The whole plan was for Adam and I to stay in the same hotel, but I would obviously get him his own room. He's driving across the country, get him his own room. So the first night ended up being that they didn't have a room for him. So him and I had to share a room the first night, but then after that we were in separate rooms. Our total cost for hotels was $441.30. Now, my tips for saving money on hotels would be to pre-book everything. Book everything in advance. You know, a lot of times if you roll into a city or a town and maybe something's going on, the prices are more expensive or you won't be able to even get a room. So definitely do that. Also, try not to stay in major big cities. Of course, hotels in big cities are gonna be more expensive. So most of the time we would drive like 30 minutes past a big city and then stay somewhere there. I also had Lily with me, which meant that I had to find places that were dog friendly or accepted dogs. And it turned out that Motel 6s, at least most of them, don't charge extra for dogs. So that's something to keep in mind as well. After driving for 4 days pretty much straight, Adam and I were completely beat. And I didn't mention that we loaded up the truck ourselves, just me and him, and I did have quite a lot of stuff. So it was just like looming over our heads, the whole idea of getting here, being just completely beat, and then having to unload a truck as well. And the more I thought about it, I was like, let me see how much movers cost. So you can actually get movers to just unload your own moving truck. And I ended up finding a website called movinglabor.com. And you just go in there and you put in your, like the address that you're moving to, how big your move is, like how many bedrooms and all that. And they'll just give you a bunch of quotes from a bunch of local companies. We ended up going with a company called A&E Movers, and it was only $280. And that was definitely a price worth paying just to save us hours and just everything else after the long move. So if you are moving and you're by yourself, or you don't really feel up to just moving everything into or out of the moving truck yourself, definitely check out movinglabor.com. So my total cost for moving was $4,137.97, which I don't think is all that expensive for moving completely across the country. Again, it was basically 4 days out of my life, but I think I would do it again. It was really cool to drive across the country and to see places that I would probably never go, and to see how the landscape of America basically changes from going from the East Coast and then going all the way to the West Coast, and how everything changes. It was really cool to see. And if you do have the time, I would highly recommend doing it. It was a lot of fun. And as Adam said, it was an adventure, and I really did like that. I also did fly Adam back, That's an extra cost. Of course, if you're having a friend come out, you obviously have to fly them back. So that cost, I flew them Southwest, it was $337, bringing the grand total of what I spent for this whole ordeal to $4,474.97, which again, I don't think is all that bad. I didn't factor in meals on any of this stuff, because depending on if you're going to a sit-down restaurant or you're going the fast food route, or you could even pack your lunches or dinners or whatever, I mean, that price is gonna be different for everybody, but you can figure 4 days of at least lunch and dinner. We stayed at hotels that had free breakfast, so we kind of got that out of the way in the morning. But yeah, guys, that is it for this video. Hopefully it gave you a little bit of insight of how much it would cost to move all the way across the country if you're coming from the East Coast. But yeah, guys, I will see you guys in the next video. Again, more videos coming from here in San Diego.